A brand new season is upon us here in MLB The Show 24, but before we get things started, there are a couple of things I would like to talk about. Let's first talk about where we rank heading into the new season. We are considered the third best team in baseball, 6th in contact, 2nd in power, 12th pitching, 14th defense, 24th in speed. Honestly, none of these ratings surprise me. I would guess somewhere around the range that we are in pretty much all of them. So glad to see that we are considered a favorite here in the franchise. Now, going on a position by position basis, you see that we have the 6th rated bullpen in the league, and you would not have guessed that if you watched this last playoff run. Of course, made a lot of changes to the bullpen in hopes of improving it. We'll see if those can take hold in this season. There are only 2 positions on the team that we are considered below average. One is center field, and it's kind of honestly surprising that 83 overall Brian Doe is the 21st best center fielder in baseball. That's kind of wild, but of course he still has room to grow, has that low A potential. And then at first base we have Figueroa. Juan Rocha is waiting behind him at AAA, and I think it won't be too long before we get our A potential first baseman up to the league either. So pretty well-rounded team here. Hopefully the 6th rated bullpen can actually play like it's at least come the playoffs. They weren't bad in the regular season by any means. So in terms of what we are rocking with to start the season, for the pitching rotation, it's going to look like this. And I know Herb Reyes was terrible in the playoffs, and I said that there was a really good chance that he would start the year at AAA, but he was very strong in spring training, pitching below a 3 ERA, and having a whip just above 1. And so it was kind of between Herb Reyes and Johnny Brennan on who was going to get this 5th starter role, and Reyes really won it in spring training. And so we're going to give him the first crack. If he struggles, won't hesitate to call him down and bring up Johnny Brennan into that spot instead. What I like about this initial setup that we're going with, we have a lefty in the starters, we have a lefty in long relief, a lefty in mid relief, and a lefty in the late game setup role. So we have more lefty options, of course, with the 2 Rule 5 pickups of Sal Frank and Brett Martin. Hopefully we'll see those. I'm actually going to make a adjustment on the fly here. I think this will probably get more innings, and I like Brett Martin a little bit better than Sal Frank. I don't know. We'll have it back where it was for now, and then as we go throughout the season, I'll maybe shake up some of these so that we can get some decent sample size for all of our relievers. We're going to have Robbie Barreto, our offseason acquisition, be in a long relief role. He's got 48 stamina, so he has multi-inning potential, so I like that. And then Dolander will be our opening day starter and ace for another year. I imagine it'll be this year and probably next that'll keep that, and then we'll see between Jose Barreto and Dorsey. I've been kind of counting on Barreto to be the ace of our future ever since we drafted him, but Neil Dorsey did outperform him in the playoffs last year, so he's throwing his hat into the ring. I know when we drafted Neil Dorsey, I said that he would not maybe be the Shohei Ohtani type, where he's both the ace and the prominent hitter, but he might prove me wrong. He could eventually be our ace for sure. In terms of offensively, we're going to give Brian Doe, the automatic double here, the chance to be our leadoff hitter to start the year. I know he's not somebody who has prototypical leadoff man stats here, but he was so good in the postseason, nearly winning postseason MVP. And coming into his rookie year, I think he needs to have an opportunity to prove that he can do it in the regular season as well. I'm certainly not expecting the average that he gave us in the postseason, over 400. But I think if he can, outperform his expectations contact-wise, he could be an elite leadoff hitter for us. He's one of 2 rookies that will feature him and James Unger. Very excited to have Unger make his MLB debut this season. And here's what we're doing. You know, Kyle Brown going all the way down to 7 with this move. He just faded down the stretch of the postseason. And so I feel like that needs to be something that we look at here to start the year. 91 clutch all the way down at 7. Feels a little bit wrong, but with the hitters ahead of him, I think he'll still have plenty of clutch opportunities this season. Against lefties, it's very similar. The top 5 are the same, just kind of the bottom 4 are reorganized there. But that's the lineup and the pitching rotation we're going for here. I'm also going to quickly show you the training position by position, just kind of what we're going with here. And then we can get started here. Some people are on auto. These are either guys who don't have good potential or they are just old, and so they're not really going to develop much anyway. So after we quickly go through this, we will open up our season against the Los Angeles Dodgers here in the quick 2-game home and away. And so let's get that started. Actually, before we head into the gameplay, there is one more thing that I wanted to do here in the intro that I forgot to get to, and that is discuss a couple of changes I made to the team between the offseason and this episode. One was Neil Dorsey. It was requested that we lower his base running aggressiveness to avoid some of those terrible still situations. And so I've done it. I've lowered his base running aggressiveness down to match his speed. I've also nerfed his arm strength and accuracy a bit, and that is because when we drafted him, we artificially raised it because it didn't make sense for, for a pitcher to have a terrible arm. Lo and behold, his development has been very fast in terms of his fielding and arm and things of that nature, so I brought it back down to kind of match what everything else does in his fielding. If I had known that his arm was going to develop so fast, I wouldn't have artificially raised it in the first place. And so back down to 75 for him. I also slightly opened up his stance a bit. He has a very closed stance, and this is something that I think makes sense with us changing him from an extreme opposite hitter to whole field. Just kind of open up the stance a bit, I think would lead to a change like that. This is a player with elite work ethic, and so when he was able to expand his hitting to the whole field range, kind of requires a little bit of a stance change, I think, and so we made that stance change to match it. The other player that I edited a little bit here was Herb Reyes. Just a 3-pitch mix prior to this season. Added the cutter. It did lower his control a little bit. It's not showing it right here because it's a new season, so all the pluses and minuses are gone, but gave it a little bit below average control on it. And now he has a 4th pitch. Also a request from the comment section, and tried to implement a lot of the suggestions that I got from the comment section over this past season. Hopefully all of these can work out for us. Now let's go ahead and face the Dodgers. Happy 4th of July, everybody. To those who celebrate, feels like an opening day game is a proper way to celebrate the 4th of July here. And I suppose now is a good time to talk about the pacing that I plan to do for this series going forward. I think, in the past we've done somewhere around a month an episode. Some seasons it's been less, some seasons it's been more. But I think from this point going forward, we're going to be going quite a bit faster. I think the plan for the time being is to have the regular seasons go roughly in a format of having an opening day episode like this. And then probably next episode, we're going to be going all the way up to the draft. We'll have the draft episode, and then we'll finish off the season in another episode. So about 4 episodes per regular season. And that's really until we win the World Series. So that could be what we do this year, or it could be what we do for the next several years until we win a World Series. And then after that, we might go even faster than that. And the reason for that is, as we see our projected leaders, Neil Dorsey is projected to lead us in stolen bases. Wow, that's something. I don't agree with that. Getting sidetracked here, but the reason for that is I feel like for the most part, the rebuilding of this team is done. I don't think anybody that we're going to add to the team from this point going forward is really going to play much of an impact at all, except for maybe a couple of bullpen arms. And so now we just need to see what this team that we've built, how they can develop together, how much damage they can really do in the league, and how much we can keep this team together and for how long. And so going to start increasing the pace just a bit. Want to see if we can actually win the World Series. We're on, we're in the 60s now in terms of episodes, and that's pretty much as long as the longest series I've done. I believe the longest series I've done was 69 episodes, which was, of course, nice with our Nashville Sound. And we're getting up there now with the Rockies. We're definitely going to be going well above that here in this series, but don't know if we're going to go, another 60 in this series. And so let me know what you think of that. I also want to stream one of said episodes in the regular season this year. I'm thinking of maybe streaming the draft. Who knows? Could be a possibility, or the episode after the draft. So let me know which of those you would prefer to be streamed out of those two options. And with that said, I think we're ready to actually hop in and start commentating here on our opening day bout against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Chase Dollander starting off the season with a nice strikeout there. His second year now on the mound for our opening day. Probably has it for this year and at least next year. You'd imagine. Signed him to that 2-year extension in the offseason. Of course, in his arbitration years now. That'll leave him with 1 year of arbitration left at the end, and we could decide what to do with him long term at that point. 2 outs here and make it 3 for the Dodgers. Able to get someone on base, but not able to do any damage here. Dorsey was, I gotta say, a bit of a disappointment as an offensive player, at least in the World Series, but was an MVP in his rookie year prior to that. Hoping he can have similar success here in year number 2. So far, nothing doing for the Rockies offense through 2 innings. But Chase Dollander having similar success on the other side. First 2 batters retired here, bottom of the second, but walks Varsho. That'll bring up Miguel Vargas hitting in the 8th spot here for the Dodgers, despite being one of their higher rated players. And having some good power. But a quiet performance from both of these offenses through the first 2 innings here. I mean, we are seeing opening day. Both teams trotting out their aces. You're not really expecting a barn burner, at least not early on. But Kyle Brown demoted to that 7th spot, just unfortunately. Didn't think he was as impactful as I was hoping in the postseason. But you're always hoping for a player to bounce back and succeed, and I hope Kyle Brown can find his way back towards the top of the lineup. It's a very tough top of the lineup to crack, to be fair. I feel like it's really the bottom half of the lineup where this team is maybe not quite as good as I want it to be down the line, but our first 5 batters, I'm really confident in their abilities. Chase Dollander here will end the 3rd, still just 1 hit on both sides through 3. Perhaps setting up for a pitcher's duel here in opening day. And Brian Doe breaks up the scorelessness here, top of the 4th, swinging at the first pitch, and the first run of the season comes via home run. Just as you'd expect it to be here from the team that we have built. Our strength is our power hitting, and Brian Doe has some above average power from that leadoff spot. Showing it off here early. Was really, really impressed with what he gave us in the postseason, considering he was somebody that wasn't perhaps even going to be playing for us in the postseason. I remember it was a debate between Logan Cerny and Brian Doe heading into that postseason. Now I can't imagine this team without him just a few episodes later. Herrera gets on base, but gets picked off. Unfortunate there for him. Don't even get me started about losing outs to the base paths. That was a major theme for us in the World Series. And I was kind of hoping that this opening day, this brand new season, would have a different feel than the World Series, but it's kind of feeling like an extension of it here to start this game. Diving attempt from Sterling Thompson here, bottom of the fourth, and that gets out number 2. Say what you want about Sterling Thompson, but he has provided some excellent defense over at third base for us pretty consistently since his call up to the majors. Diving again here, can't quite bring that one in though. Mookie Betts will get on base. If he had done that twice in a row, that would have been pretty spectacular stuff. Soderstrom got a pitch to hit, and he crushes it right center field. That one is out of here. 418 feet. You knew it the second it left his bat. Soderstrom, part of this channel's history with our athletics franchise, and now he's showing up again, putting the Dodgers on the board and on top here the first time in this game. Varsho will reach base, and Verlander just can't get that third out here in the fourth. You get it against Vargas. Pitch high in the zone is lifted. Hauled in by Kyle Brown, and he does eventually get that final out of the fourth. Soderstrom putting the Dodgers on the board, though, for Bobby Miller. He's been pitching pretty well here early on for the Dodgers. Throws a really fast four-seamer that has been tough for this team to square up so far through 4. Rushing in the 9th spot, gets on base here to lead off the 5th for LA. Singling out to center field. Top of the order. Back up for Los Angeles. Castillo 0 for 2 today, and thrown out by Salas. Not an accurate throw at all, but had enough of a lead on rushing there that Murillo was able to reach over and still tag him out. Castillo cranks one to right field, and it is over the wall and gone for the second home run for the Dodgers today. Both teams' leadoff hitters able to go yard. Year on opening day, 378 feet for Nelson Castillo, another guy that has been drafted here in the series. This potent Dodgers lineup is tough to crack, but we're finally starting to see some of the players they've drafted sneak through the cracks here. Lux down swinging on a high fastball there. Not a great strikeout game from Chase so far, just his second of the game here as we end the 5th. 1-3 the score in favor of the hometown Dodgers. Thompson 0 for 1 today, and down looking at 103 mile an hour fastball on that upper outside corner. That's some nasty stuff. I know velocity isn't everything, but I really wish we had a pitcher that could do stuff like this. But the problem with those high velocity pitchers is, hey, when you do square them up, it tends to go yard. Second homer of the day for Colorado. This time, it's the Rockies' first baseman. Out of all the players on this team, he's probably the least secure at his job, I would say. You know, we've got Juan Rocha, first-round pick from a couple seasons ago, who's getting really close to him in terms of ability. In fact, you could probably say he's better at hitting righties already. Figueroa just unfortunately had a really solid rookie year. I'd even say really good, but hasn't been able to follow it up since then. Hoping for him to get back to that rookie season kind of impact here this year. Outman goes down looking. Chase starting to get some strikeouts now. 3rd of the day. Now 2 gone here, bottom 6, and Soderstrom, they'll say he went around. There you go. Strikeout number 4 for Chase Dollander ends up getting the quality start here. 6 innings, allowing 3 runs, keeping the Rockies in it. The offense has to start producing. Murillo gets a hanging, breaking ball there, but couldn't time it up right. And over in right field, Castillo reaching into the stands to snag it. Not a great opening day for him. Swung at that 3-0 pitch outside the zone in his first at-bat, and then goes down swinging there. You won't even see the CPU swing at a 3-0 pitch right down the middle. So it was very surprising to see him swing at that first at-bat there. Zach Veen does get on base here with a double, tying run in scoring position, and the Dodgers decide to switch it up with a lefty here in Jose A. Ferrer. Getting that lefty-lefty matchup, and it's going to work out for them as they get the ground out here to end off the 7th, keeping that tying run off the board. Going to get our first look at Devin Smeltzer playing in the bullpen here. Of course, we're very familiar with this guy as a starter, but in his now mid-30s, started to regress last season. Wanted to see if we can get ourselves a steady lefty bullpen arm that this team has been desperately needing now for the last couple of seasons. 2 up, 2 down here to start with a strong throw from Rafael Murillo. Happy to have him back in the lineup after missing the end there of the World Series. And Smeltzer, you gotta like what you've seen so far. We took a few swings at trying to get some lefty bullpen arms, including a couple of Rule 5 draft picks. If we can get at least 1 or 2 of those 3 swings to hit, I think we'll have ourselves a much improved bullpen heading into the playoffs this year. Of course, you got to make it there, of course, but that's got to be the expectation for this Rocky squad. Smeltzer back onto the mound for the 8th inning. Doing quite a job here, keeping this Dodgers offense from extending their lead. And now the Rockies have one more chance here on opening day to try to come out with a victory. Need a run to tie 2 to take the lead as we head into the 9th. Got the top of our order up, but it's Maurice Hayes on the mound for the Dodgers. I remember him from that loaded closer class we had a couple years ago. We came out with Blanco and Gorzelski. Dodgers drafted Hayes, who I was a really big fan of, and we get to see him in action for the first time, trying to close out our team. Herrera, just not a great day from him, unfortunately, though, to be fair, it hasn't been a great day offensively for pretty much anybody on offense, including Murillo, who yet to get his first hit, but can he get one here? It drops down in front of Outman in center field. First hit of the brand new season for our superstar shortstop. Hoping he can replicate what he did last year. It'd be hard to say improve upon. He was an MVP candidate for most of the year. In fact, was the MVP lead for most of the year until Dorsey beat him out in the end. And Dorsey, unfortunately, goes down on the grounder here. Not a good day from the reigning MVP. And the Dodgers come out with the win on opening day. A lot of the same problems this offense had in the World Series came back today. Was hoping playing a new opponent we could show the offense we had been showing prior to that World Series, but unable to do so. Opening day isn't the only thing I had planned here for this episode, though. We've got an MLB debut that I'm very interested in. James Unger, the hometown kid, used our second trade of the series on him a few seasons ago, and now he's made the MLB roster. That home body quirk here, further fueling this hometown hero storyline for him, I think is excellent. Now, in terms of his skill set, he's kind of a guy who has his defined strengths and weaknesses, has none of his ratings in the 70s as he gets his first strikeout there. Most of his per nines are in the 60s, in fact, the low 60s, but he's got excellent home runs per nine, which again, a great fit for Colorado, from the Colorado native. And then he has pitcher clutch in the high 80s here. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of skill set plays and how it sims here at the major league level. So far, we've seen a strikeout and a hit allowed. Kyle Tucker forgot he was on the Pirates here, hitting in the 3 spot, and he's down looking at the curveball. 2 strikeouts for Unger. It took Dolander 4 innings and 2/3 to get his second strikeout, I think. So much quicker here for Unger. Unfortunately, also here in his first inning, allowing his first ever run. The Pirates on the board via the RBI single from Kerry Carpenter. Salas trying to throw out the runner, and he does so easily. Much more accurate throw than we saw the first time in the opening day game against the Dodgers. Termarr Johnson hits a ball hard over to right field. Herrera throws it to the cutoff man, but it's a 1-out double for the Pirates. The Rockies unable to come up with anything runs-wise here in the first, but Unger continues to show some nice control here on these strikeouts. Does not have a changeup, but he has a slider. He has a 2-seamer to help complement that 4-seamer there. And so far, so good through 2 for James Unger in his debut. Third inning now. Rockies still unable to add any runs for him here. Gets his 4th strikeout of the game. 2 up, 2 down here so far. And strikeout number 5 on the curve. Maybe this guy's going to play like Jose Barreto, where his strikeout numbers aren't great in simulation and in his ratings, but when you actually watch him play, dude can rack up some Ks. So far, so good for him here. But Kyle Tucker blasts one to right field for the second Pirates run of the game. And even if you have a high home runs per 9 rating, you're going to leave a pitch over the middle for Kyle Tucker. He's just going to take you a yard. I don't care what the rating is. You can't make a mistake like that against a hitter of that caliber. Side note here, what is going on with our Rockies offense, man? We're in the 4th inning, still nothing on the board. I mean, come on. We're 1-2 as we entered this game here, and part of it's been because our offense can't really get much going. Could it possibly be a little bit of a World Series loss hangover? You see that a lot in sports, where whoever lost the Super Bowl /final /World Series ends up having a hard time replicating what they did the season before. Obviously still very early in the season, but man, not an inspiring start here. Great strikeout there, by the way, on Brian Hayes. Maybe getting a favorable call, but it did clip that edge of the zone. Kyle Brown, what are you doing? That is not a difficult throw, my guy. You even had time to gather yourself. How do you miss that throw? Already demoted to 7th in the order this year. Now you're not even making me feel bad about it, making mistakes like that. How was that a walk? Oh my goodness. This inning lasting much longer than it should have. Kyle Brown and the umpire conspiring against Unger here, but he's still, with the bases loaded, able to keep any additional Pirates runs coming across. Colorado finally decides to join the game offensively here as we head to the top of the 5th. 2 up, 2 down so far in the inning. Kyle Tucker going down, looking at a 96-mile-an-hour fastball on the outside edge. 7 strikeouts in 5 innings for Unger. 5 hits allowed. 1 walk. Comes out here for the 6th, and Kerry Carpenter having a pretty good game here for Pittsburgh. Gets the single there. Brian Hayes up next. Another hard hit ball. This one to left field. Diving is Zach Veen, but he can't haul it in. Throws it to the cutoff man, Murillo. 2 in scoring position, no outs, and think it might be time to consider ending James Unger's day here. Pitch count getting pretty far up there in his debut and starting to maybe miss some pitches here. And it looks like our manager concurs with me here. But 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, just a tough start there to the 6th. I'll take that from Unger, who don't think is a future ace by any means, but I think he'll be a solid starter for us. The Rockies dropped this game, going to 1-3 on the season and 0-2 in the games we've watched. Not the start we want to see, but hopefully we can bounce back in the next episode as we will get all the way to the draft. I'm excited for it. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and see you in the next one. Go Rockies.